is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Have a beast today. We're going to learn how to Play With Me by Extreme, the great Nuno Bettencourt here. One of my favorite players, as you guys know. And this is a song that's been requested quite a bit over the years, but of course I avoid it because it's about 6.2 million notes in it. But we're going to look at all of them today, so it's going to take a while. So sit back and enjoy. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Ring that notification bell so you'll know I release a new video. And please, very important, if you want to support what I do here on YouTube with all these free song lessons, and but also want to get access to all of my guitar courses, the best way to do it is just becoming a member of my academy. So you'll see a link to my academy. It's a GL365 Academy. You'll see a link to it in the description. That link will give you a free 7-day trial too, so you get to try out all the guitar courses and see if it's right for you. And hopefully it'll be a good fit, and you'll join our great community. Get over here. You get personalized support from me and all my courses, from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses in all sorts of techniques, like courses on alternate picking, and economy picking, and courses on theory and ear training and improvisation and guitar tone, you name it. I got a lot of stuff over there. So please go check it out. And it's a great way to support what I do here. All right, so let's jump into this. I am tuned down a half step. So every string down a half step, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, E flat, D flat. All right, then we get into this track, which is Eighth Absolute Beast. So there's a lot of this stuff in this song that he doesn't play live. Nuno doesn't do live. So that whole intro section with a little... It's hard to find a video of him doing this anywhere. So how that's actually... We can get the notes right, but how he actually... Where he put position, where he plays it, whatever. It's going to be, you know... It's not an exact science here, especially if you don't have any visual evidence. So there's going to be a couple of instances like that. The outro as well. I don't see him play anything that kind of quick lick at the end. So we kind of make do. But anyway, and I'll see too, this intro part does have some harmony lines on it, and I'm kind of just doing the main line there. So it's multiple guitars doing this crazy stuff, so it's not going to sound exactly like the recording, but you will be playing the main one here, the one that's loudest in the mix. So let's start with this intro. So that's going to start here, the 16th fret on the G string. Then go 14, 13, back to 14. So after those four notes, jump up here and grab the 17th fret there on the G. So the strings are slightly palm muted here to make the notes like really pop out. And then we're going to jump up here to the 19th fret and go 19, 17, 16, 17. And then over to 17 on the B string. So this, for me, for the string crossing, especially this, it's easier to start that lick with an upstroke, up, down, then you get to kind of, it's a little bit easier string crossing when you do that. And even this top. So I like to kind of start all the 16th notes with just upstrokes. So after you get that note there on the B string, we're going to have now 18, 17, 16, 17. Then over to here. So now it's this kind of same lick, but just now done twice. So it's 19 on the high E, 17, 16, back to 17. So do that twice. Then go up to 20 on the high E. So we had this. Sorry. So that goes, so 17, 19, 20, and then do a quick little hammer to 19 to 20, pull back off to 19. Then 17, 16, then back to 17, and then go over to 17 on the B, then 18, and then 19 on the G. And then, so that's a quick little trill between it's just a couple of times between 17 and 19 on the G. Slide down to 16, and then 14. And then there's a lot of notes here. It's a big harmony hit with a lot of guitars. Best way to kind of recreate that is just to hit an A power chord up here, which is just the 12th fret there on the A, 14 on D, 14 on G. So we have this. All right, so that's that little intro. Then the full band starts to come in, and we have a couple of kind of muted strum patterns. So it's kind of a pattern of 5 hits, down, up, down, up, down, done twice. And then he starts coming in with just single hits. Boom. So that right there, it's kind of odd. It's going to be easier if you have like a drummer in front of it you can practice it with. But that's he's kind of starting on like the upbeat a couple of hits, and then starts playing some straight eighth notes leading into this main riff, this little riff that goes into the song. All right, so you're going to see this kind of chromatic lick a lot. So we're going to start with this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the low E, then the same thing on the A, then the same thing on the D, and then you're going to go and hit the D, open G, and D strings together. From there, you're going to hit these harmonics at the 5th fret across the D and the G first, and then the G and the B, and then go back to the G and the D strings, but hit those just open without any harmonics. And then you're going to hit the... You can hit something like that. You hit a pinch harmonic on the open G string and kind of do a little bar dive, and that kind of ends it. So, all right, and then we get to the first verse. Now the verses, some of the patterns that he's playing, are kind of consistent, but he does have some certain sections where he'll throw some variations in there, which can get a little bit confusing. So I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible. So the first verse, though, sounds like this. All right, so I'm counting that. I know we have the little play with me. That's not really the chorus yet. The chorus kind of comes a little bit later, so I'm still counting that as part of the verse. So this first verse, it kind of starts with just kind of one of those kind of bluesy things. So we just start with the open A power chord, and then he has this. That's just 4th fret on the D, then 5, then back to the 4. And he likes to do that how I was playing over there. He likes to kind of shift up, play the pinky for both of those notes. So we kind of have that to start. So for 2 times you do it like that. Now the 3rd time through we reverse these notes. like that. We go, instead of going 4-5-4, we go 5-4-5. So we have this so far. Now the fourth time he throws a quick little fill. So that right there is just gonna hit the open A power chord still, and then you're gonna palm mute this so these notes really pop out. And you're hammering 3 to 4 real quick on the A string, over to 2 on the D, and then that 5-4 on the D. So far we have this. Now from there, after you did that little fill, and we continue the riff like we were doing before with just the 5-4-5 version. So right there, we gotta do that riff a few times. And then we go to the A power chord twice, then the B flat power chord, the first fret twice. So kind of just hit that, B flat, and then the B power chord and up to the C power chord. So it kind of chromatically builds up. All right, and now when you get here, he doesn't do this live either from what all the videos that I see. He kind of just hangs out on a... But on the recording, as you know, if you know the recording well, there's a little line there that goes... So what is that? So we started with this C power chord. Now this is good with really kind of just all downstrokes because it really allows you to kind of dig into these melodies and get some pinch harmonics on them. So we start with the C power chord. I'm playing it like this third fret on the A, fifth fret on the D, and then we start with the. So what I'm doing is I'm playing just these melody notes on the D string, and I keep going back and hitting muted, kind of a palm muted third fret on the A string each time. So we have 7 on the D, then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So we have this. And this, once you get there, switch it to a B power chord. So at the second fret of the A string. So from there, kind of chug on those for a second. And then 3, pull off the 2, and then open string on the low E. And then he comes back to the third fret. What he does, he grabs that third fret real quick, does a quick little bend. And then you want to hit really the high E and the B string together. And when you do that, you can flick the note on the low E string and have that open E string ring as well. So we have this. So for that first verse, it looks like this. All right, now verse 2 is slightly different. How it kind of starts with the same riff. Like I said, then he does this kind of variation on it, and the band kind of stops real quick. So we have this, like, looks like this. All right, so very similar to the start we did before. Everything in the same order. Same feel. Except he does extend it. He goes like this. So he does that hammer 3 to 4, 2 on the D, and then 5, 2 on the D, and then play 4 on the D. So we have this. So then we go to that, you can see what I just did. After I did that, we go back to the same riff again, doing the 5-4-5 version of it. And then he goes, really kind of taking the 5th fret on the D and the G together, slide down to 4, open A string, and then play those 4s again to an A power chord. So these sections, and you'll see again in the 3rd verse, kind of just creating like a cool little groove just around those chords, but there's nothing really kind of succinct there to kind of something like that. And then the same. All right, and then we have this little thing which is I call a pre-chorus. Looks like this. Into the chorus. So this first version of this is a little bit more simplistic, but we have this. So that's 3-2-3 on the low E string, and then 2-1-2 on the A, 5-4-5 on the A, then 5-4-5 on the D, and then 5-4-3-4 on the G. And he kind of does an extra note. He kind of plays it maybe one more note, so we get. So that's 4-3, 4-3 on the G, and then we go to this. What he's doing here is he's playing a 6th. So we're gonna play the 3rd fret on the G string and 3rd fret on the high E string. You play that. Slide down to the 2nd fret. So you're muting that string in the middle. You can see I'm using my index finger behind it just to kind of mute all the strings. So it's muting that B string in between those notes. So I can just strum across those 3 strings. So when he does this, and then you hear kind of like a muted hit on like the open D and G strings between them. All right, now we get to the chorus section. Now each chorus section is slightly different because of the fills. So this first chorus, I'll play through real quick, and keep in mind, it starts with a quick little speed burst, and then he takes off from there. So it looks like this. Back to the verse number 3. So we've got a quick little strums right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go to so we've got a quick little 16-note strum, and then the D power chord and the A power chord. And then you just kind of hang out with the palm muted A string. Now, when I see him play this live, he's just kind of doing with alternate picking, so you can do it either way you want. All downstrokes is going to sound a little bit chunkier, I guess. So we do that D power chord to the A, then the C power chord, 3rd fret of the A string, back to the A. And now the E flat power chord off the first fret. And then, so we have this. So that little fill right there, he puts a pinch harmonic there at the 4th fret on the G string and bend it up and release. And pull off. So pull off the 2. And then pull off 4 to 2 on the D. Then there's a just slightly bend that note on the 3rd fret of the A string and pull off to the open A. And then down to the 3rd fret on the low E string. Then we go back to the A power chord. And then you got all he's doing there from this A power chord, then play 2-0 on the low E string. He's just kind of doing that a couple of times. So like this. So that's kind of the first half of the chorus there. The second half of the chorus is where he does all the fills. So the first fill looks like this. So that comes off of the D. After the D to A transition, we have then. So that's the 8th fret on the high E, 7th on the B, and 8th on the G. Just kind of tremolo pick them. And then move it up a fret. So, and then do the same thing now. We have the C power chord to the A, and then we have another fill. So that's 5, 7, 5, 7, 9, 5. So all in the G. And then resolve it to the 7th fret there on the D. And then the B flat to the A, and then we have our this first little tap lick looks like this. So what he's doing there, he does that. He starts it with that same pinch harmonic, and then bending up all set. And then he's going to tap at the 12th fret on the G string. Release it, and then you kind of bend it back up and tap at the 10th fret now, so it. And then you're going to tap at the 9. So it's kind of just you're doing that bending and releasing down there, and just tapping 12, 10, 9. And then when you release, you're now going to do just like a series of legato licks. And the legato licks are just pulling off 4, 2 to 0 on the G and then the D. And then do the same thing now, but you're going to start on the D. So 4, 2, 0 on the D and 4, 2, 0 on the A. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do one more on the 4, 2, 0 on the A, grab the 2nd fret on the D string, and then the open E, and that takes us back. So, all right, now we're to verse number 3. Once again, there's some kind of a little variation in here. Looks something like this. All right, so kind of the same thing at the beginning. Then then we go back to that kind of that thing that we did before, was where you just kind of doing the 5 on the D and the G, slide down to 4. And you kind of hitting the open A in between it, so it's just kind of find a groove in it. Good. It gets down to the A power chord, and then it starts building up like we did before of the power chords chromatically from A to B flat to B to when it gets to C, it's a. All right, so it's kind of the same, similar to what we did with verse number 2, except we don't stop. That little part is not cut out. All right, and then we have verse number 4, which is a lot more simplistic. Looks like this. All right, so that's just hit the A power chord and then go up to the 5th fret here. You're going to hammer 5 to 6, and then hit the double stop there at the 5th fret on the B and the high E together on the 5th fret. Repeat that like 6 times. Maybe that double stop a couple times. And then we take that same chord shape we did before, but we're going to be starting it here at 7 on the high E, 6 on the B, 7 on the G. Then 8, so just move it up 1 fret at a time. And then you're going to hit the pinch harmonic at the 9th fret of the G. And then we're back to. All right, then we're to this pre-chorus again, which is slightly different this time, so it looks like this. So that starts the same way as before. But when he starts getting to around the D string there, he's not just going, he's just kind of doubling it. But so you're just kind of alternating between his 2 notes as fast as you can. And he takes it up 1 further. He goes all the way up to the 2nd fret of the between 3 and 2 on the B string. Let's play this. And then that same ending. And then we have this next chorus, which takes us into the bridge section. Now this chorus has different fills as well. It looks like this. Takes us into the bridge. So we start the same way, same riff, same fill. And then here is when we start doing different fills. So that after the D to A, he just goes up to that same chord shape here. 8th fret on the high E, 7th on the B, 8th on the G. He just picks it once and slides it up a fret, and do that a couple times. And then to the C to, after the C to A transition, we have this. Now, sometimes when he plays the same melody, I'll ask him when. So you can just do whatever you want with the whammy stuff, or just play the melody there. And then the same, the B flat to A transition, and we have this longer tapping lick. So he's going to start out, you're going to hear a couple of hammer on to the 5th fret there, with your index finger and pull off to the open high. So when you hammer back on 5, then hammer on 7, 9, hammer, and then tap the 12th fret, then pull back off to 9, pull off to 7, 5, hit open. So we kind of do that twice. And then you're going to come up here to hammering the 7th fret, 9, 10, tap 15, pull back off to 10, pull off to 9, pull off to 7, pull off to the open, and go straight back up. So this one doesn't have that little double tap at the end. It just goes straight up and down a couple times, and then now you're gonna tap the last one. Hammer on the 9th fret, 10, 12, then tap 12. I'm sorry, tap 17. So that's. All right, and then we have this same chromatic like we did before in the intro. So as soon as you get up to the where you would hit the open D and the G, it's kind of you're at the bridge. All right, so the bridge section, so now it's got kind of like a phaser on it here. I don't have it anything like that hooked up, but anyway, we'll do it without. So it looks like this. All right, so it's kind of hard to hear all that exactly with all the phaser stuff going on, but it does give us a little bit of a break in the song because it's been kind of full throttle up to here. So, and it gives a little breather before the solo, which is crazy. It's coming up next. So we had that kind of open G, D, and then the B, the string 3rd fret, and the high E string 3rd fret. And then you just kind of strum across from the high E all the way to the D string, holding that chord. And then just change the note on the high E string to the 2nd fret, and then you're good to go. And then change the note on the high E string to the 1st fret, and you're good. Now the high E string open. All right, and then what we're gonna do is come over here. We're gonna play the 4th fret on, the 3rd fret on the B string, open G, and then the 3rd fret on the D string. And then take that down a fret, down one more fret, and then the open strings, the G, B, and the D. So we have this. Now we start going through the same chords again. Except now at the very end, when he's doing these chords, he kind of does some palm mutes it a little bit and kind of changes up the picking pattern. So that's kind of sliding into this first, and then it kind of goes to the B, G, and then the high E, B, G, D. All right, and then move down to the next one. Then you kind of go to G to D, then high E, B, G, D. So really here it's kind of enough. nothing that crazy precise that you need to worry about. And then move it down 1 fret. And when he does here, he kind of picks across those strings, and then he does a hammer-on from 1 to 3 on the B, pull back off the 1. Then picking it across from the open B to all the way to the D a couple times. All right, now we are to the solo. So I'm going to play through a Nuno solo for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. All right, so that's got some crazy stuff in it. So what is going on? Now, at the beginning, it sounds like that he's picking all those. But he's not. It's Nuno. He's going to throw something at you that ain't going to be easy. So it's actually easier to pick all those notes. So what he's doing is... first of all, you got to mute that high E string. Now, what he's doing is instead of going like playing the melody note and then 3 open strings, which is what you would think, and he's kind of picking just alternate. So that to me is easier because it's easier to time. But what he's doing is he's not picking all the notes. But since he's palm muting it almost sounds like he is. So he still has that same rhythm, but you're going to do this like this. You're going to start with this a downstroke, then hammer on. I'm just going to show you the pattern first. So we're going to have a downstroke, hammer on. So in this case, the 5th fret. Pull back off to the open string. So open, hammer, pull back off. And then the 4th note you're going to hit with an upstroke. So we have this. So that's how he's getting that effect. He's picking a note. First of all, it's all palm muted. So really kind of everything sounds very percussive. So we're going to have the open high E, hammer, pull off, then an upstroke on the open high E. So down, hammer, pull, up. That's the pattern that he does with all of these notes. So now we just need to learn the melody that he's doing, because we're going to do the same thing, the same little thing. Like I said, if you want to play it, pick it, I think it sounds great. That's fine too. But anyway, so let's do the notes real quick. So we have this. So 5, 7, 8, 10, 8, 7, 5, 4. So that's the first ones. Then you basically go back up the same way again, but only up to the 8th fret. 5, 7, 8. Then go back down. And now this time just go up to the 7. So you're taking the same notes each time, except you're going starting on the 5, go all the way up to 10, then go all the way back down to that 4. Now go up to 8, go back down to that 4, and then go up to 7. So then, after those, we're going to do this. So that's going to be 12, 10, 8, 7, and then 10, 8, 7, 5. And that's the end of those notes. So you continue that same picking pattern that we were talking about earlier with those melody notes, and then it ends with this little. So we have this 5 on the high E string, and then 5, 5 on the B, 6, and then a pitch harmonic, kind of slide it down, and then 4, 5 on the high E string. All right, now we get to the fun part. Looks like this. So that is a pattern that he's repeating a lot, and he's trying to use just his pinky and his index fingers pretty much as he can, because it really helps lock in the pattern. So we're going to start it kind of, you want to feel this in groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we have this 9, pull off to 7, hammer back on 9 on the G. So that's the first group of 3. So as soon as you learn this pattern, then it's just kind of learning the different arpeggios he does that pattern on. So we're going to start here with this. And now we have the string crossing, which is going to be the hardest part of it. So that's 6 on the high E, back to 9 on the G, and then back to 6 on the B. Then we're going to play 9, pull off to 6 on the G, on the B string, over to 9 on the G. So we have this. And then up over to the B string, 6th fret, and then pull off 9, 7 on the G. So that's the last group of 3. So it's little 4 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then just repeat that. So he does have some light palm muting on it to make the notes pop out. So even when he's doing the pull-offs, it almost sounds like it's all picked. So he does it twice there, and then he does the exact same pattern now, but he's going to change the arpeggio to this A major arpeggio. So that's going to be 9 and 6 on the G, and then 5 and 9 on the high E string. So it's that same pattern done with those 4 notes now. So instead of these 4 notes, we're going to do it with these. So that's going to be the same thing. 9, pull off to 6, hammer back on 9. And here's the hard part. You got to skip a string over to 5 on the high E string, 9 back on the G, and then 5 on the high E again. Then you're going to pull off that 9 to 5 over to 9 on the G, and then 5 on the last group of 3, 5 on the high E, and then pull off 9, 6. So you can see this is the exact same pattern as this. Just 4 different notes we're doing the pattern across. So we only did a pattern once here off that A major, and then what we're going to do is move it up to. So right here now we're going to play the 4 notes you'll use for this pattern on is 9, 12 on the G, 9, 12 on the high E. So just the same pattern across those notes. So far we have this. From there, we're we're playing a little bit more of a stretch. We're going to have 7-11 on the high E string, and then 7-10 on the high, so 7-11 on the G, 7-10 on the high E. Or, like I said, if you will use your ring finger on top, but sometimes it's just better to feel it if you keep the same fingers involved with the pattern, so it's always just kind of pinky and index finger. So, and then now this last version, 8-11 on the G, and then 7-11 on the high E string. So, this first arpeggio is the only one we do the pattern twice on, and it's one time. Just one time on all the others. And then we have this quick little... So that's just it's a pinch harmonics and quick little bend and release at the 9 on the G, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then we go back to the pattern, and it sounds even more picked now. So here, it's probably still doing mostly kind of a lot of legato stuff. But he's really heavily palm muting it. And he plays a different rhythm here. So he kind of goes straight up and down twice, and then he pauses. So we have this. So it's going to be using the same arpeggio. So still 7-9 on the G, 6-9 on the B here. So we're just going to do this. 7-9 and then 6-9 on the B. Pull back off to the 6. Pull back off. So we kind of just go up. And then up, all the way back down, and then back up. Just straight through it twice. Now I think he's, like I said, I'm picking it in. I like how it sounds really aggressive there. But you don't have to pick it. I don't think he is either. He's kind of more doing legato, hammering on and pulling off the notes with them palm muted. All right, so we basically do it twice there. So you do that all the way up and back down twice. And then, so that's the pattern, and then you repeat the pattern. Because remember, that first arpeggio is played twice as long. So we have this. And then the same thing, which is that, remember, the actual arpeggio, the pattern itself is up and down 2 times through the arpeggio. So that's 1 time through the pattern. So we have this. And then there's a pause. So we have this. All right, and then same pattern up here, the same arpeggio as before. Up and down twice. Same thing. So here's where it kind of starts. So he does that kind of up and down. Same pattern with that. Just normal, 1 time. And then here he mixes it up. He starts going kind of slower and more legato feel. So that's just kind of hammering 8, it's going up. So you kind of go up and down through it twice, but just a lot more legato. None of this kind of... It's a lot slower. And that prepares him for the ending, which is crazy. Looks like this. All right, so this is another one of those things that he doesn't play quite like it live. He'll play the beginning of this riff like that live, but not the ending, which is the weird part of it. So when you really dissect this, like I have, really kind of slowed it down and try to figure out what's going on. There's a couple of things where, you know, I don't see anybody kind of playing it like this, but I think this is going to be the closest way to get it exactly like the recording. So, and like I said, when Nuno, when he gets to that part, he just kind of does his own thing. He's kind of improvises something. He doesn't really try to attempt to get it note for note. So we have this. So that's going to be hammering 11 to 14 on the A string, then over to 14 on the D. So I'm kind of rolling, and then hammer 13 to 16 on the G, over to 12 on the high E, then 16, pull off the 12 on the high E string, then go back down to pulling off 16 to 13 on the G, then hammer back on and go back up. So wait, sorry. We get up, back up, going back up to that 12th fret on the high E string. Now here is where I think you'll see a lot of different ways that this is played. But taking what Nuno does do live, where he'll take this and go, he usually goes, kind of slides up and back down. And then at the end of it, he doesn't really do much. He just kind of improvises something right there, but I don't really see him doing what I'm hearing on the recording when you slow it down, because he really does continue that pattern, but there's a slide in there from this. So this is how I think he's doing it on the recording. So when he gets to that 12, I think we're going to go up to 19, 16, shift back down to 12. You can do it like that if you want. But you just want those 3 notes. And then we're going to do this. You're going to pull off 16 to 12 on the high E, over to 16 on the G. So we have this. Then we go back to the 12th fret on the high E string, back to this 16 on the G, and there's that slide. You're going to see a lot of people like that. But when you play it like that, it makes the rest of the lick very weird, and it loses the whole legato feel of the lick, which you can still hear going for the rest of the lick. So I don't think it's played that way. I think there's more pull-offs going on. So I think he gets there by one, kind of little detective work, knowing that he goes down back to the 12th fret pretty quickly, and he's not staying up here. So he does that. And then here, we're going to do this. We're going to do that slide from 16 to 13. So we have this. With the pinky. And then what I'm going to do here is we're going to grab 12 on the B, and then back to that 13 on the G, pull off to 9. So that's going to keep that legato feel to it. So we have this. And then pull off 13 to 9 again, over to 14 on the G, the A string. Then back to the G string, 9th fret, and then pull off 14 to 11 on the A. So we have this so far. And then pull off 14 to 11 again there, over to 12 on the low E. And when he gets that 12 on the low E, sounds like you hear hear that note in there real quick, but I think what's going on is it's just him kind of sliding down off into and hits the low E open and does a bar dive. So I don't think he's going, and it's just kind of where he slid down to and into a bar dive there. So we have the, all right, so that is a crazy solo. It's nuts. So if it takes you a while to get through that one, don't feel bad. Just even attempting it, you are brave. All right, then we get to this last chorus, which coming out of the solo, there's kind of an overdub that kind of it continues to solo a little bit. So we still have that same chorus. But over it, we have this. So that's right out of the solo, right after that little bar dive. And that's just kind of the same thing we did. That 5, 7, 9, and then tapping 12. You can kind of do a double tap up top. Doing the tap, pull back off, open, then hammer back on. And he does kind of the same thing, but now it just moves the tap down to the 10th fret. So, and then you can just catch the B flat riff, because that's about where you're at when it comes back in. And then we have the second half of the chorus where we have new fills, like this. That little ending there, we'll take a look at in a second. So that same fills we did that earlier, and then same thing. That same melody as well, and the B flat to A, and then we have this new lick here. So it's a very, it's kind of, this is a good, easy pattern. It's a great little picking exercise here. So what's going on? We're gonna play 17, 16, 15, on the high E, down to 17 on the B. So we have that, and that's the first group of 4. So first, here's the notes you're gonna do. You're gonna do 17, 16, 15 on the high E and the B. So you do that down the first 4 notes, then start the next note down from the top note, so the 16th fret, and go 4 notes down in those scales from there. And now 4 notes down from the next note in the scale, so the 15 on the high E. So it's gonna kind of start going into it first, kind of sliding into 17, and then playing 15 on the high E, and then the pattern starts. Now we're gonna do the pattern again on the G string, starting here, but the pattern now is gonna be 17, 16, 15 on the B, but 17, 16, 14 on the G. So the same pattern besides that, it's just that note down here is different. And now continue 17, 16, 14 on both the G and the D. And then the same thing on the G and the D and the A. And then when you get there, kind of slide down. So we have this. So as long as it's kind of the same pattern, just taken across those scales. And then we have this little outro section, which at the very end, there's a lot of overdubs going on, a lot of like sound effects and stuff. But anyway, so if you listen to the isolated track of this though, which you can find on YouTube, you'll hear what I'm doing here. So we have this. All right, so we got that chromatic thing again. We get all the way up to hitting the open high G. High G, open G. All right, and then what we do is we basically start the same run but an octave higher. So we started on the E here at the 2nd fret on the D string. So from there, we're just going to play 2, 3, 4, then the open G, then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the G. Then, since we already have this B, then you can just play, you don't have to play the open B string, you play 1, 2, 3, 4 on the B string. So then the open high E, then just 1, 2, 3, getting up to that G there on the high E. Sorry. Then you got to start over where we began, go back down to the lower octave, up to that open G. And in here is where there's a lot of stuff going on, but the isolated track you hear do this. So this is the open E, then the 2nd fret on the A. Then we have, the 4th fret on the low E to the 2nd fret on the D. And then 4th on the A, 1st on the G. That note sounds kind of odd. And then the power chord, F power chord, the 1st fret to the A flat power chord off the 4th fret. And then we have this little last lick. Once again, this is one of the harmony lines that you're hearing there. You're going to hear maybe a higher one in there as well, but I'm playing this one. So we have this. So very staccato, 20, 19, 17, 16, back to 17. And then over to the B string, 17, 18, 15. And then little pedal point here. We have 14 on the G, and then go 17 on the B, 15, back to 17, 13, back to 17, 15, back to 17. So over to 14 on the G, and then end it with the 17th fret on the high E string. So we have this. All right, that is it. It's a monster to get through, so I appreciate anybody that's still here with me. We know each other well now, I guess. So a lot of notes in that. It is a beast, but it's got some great, besides just really fun stuff to play, a lot of those things that you're learning in the solos or those little licks, they're kind of patterns that, or throughout the fills even, that you can take and put in your own playing. That kind of all the arpeggio work that he does is just really, really cool, and kind of learn how to do it on your own and make your own thing out of it. It's a really cool way to play arpeggios, and as you can see, it just makes the song just sound incredible. So all right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.